What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Hogs Happy Hour. I'm your co host, Blake, as always, joined by Ashton. How's it going, Ashton?
Hey man, doing good. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Get to talk a little bit about some football as always. Can't wait.
Yeah, well, had a very, very, very disappointing Saturday night up in Fayetteville. Uh, BYU came to town and won 38-31. I'm going to start with the defense, as I seem to always do. Jaheim Thomas led the defense with 9 tackles. Uh, we had 3 sacks with Landon Jackson having 1.5. Defense got a turnover toward the end of the first half with the fumble, but we had I guess, a celebration penalty to kind of ruin that. Defense gave up 281 total yards, 204 passing, 77 yards rushing. We did give up 38 points. BYU quarterback Slovis was only 13 for 25 for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, what is your early thoughts about the defense?
I thought overall the the defense gave us a chance to win the. I think the score is a very deceptive score for it to be 38-31. I think most of those points were brought on by the offense putting us in tough situations, whether it be the fumbles or the interception, uncharacteristic mistakes. I think by KJ, it backfired on us, and of course, most of those scores came off a turnover and then immediately shot to the end zone score. It's tough as a defense when things are rolling. You expect your offense to get on the field, stay on the field for a little while, and then a change of pace, mistake, and then you get on the field and offensively, what do you do as an OC? You take shots on an immediate change of possession, and they scored. But outside of that, I mean, BYU, they struggled to run the football effectively, consistently, and then to throw the football. I think if you take away the big tight end, Rex, who played like a T Rex, you take him away from BYU, the defense played really well.
Yep. We do have a comment here. I'll show you from Sarah Cheney. It's the dumbest thing ever, Sally. So I'm assuming it's about the celebration after the turnover. What Sam Pittman was told was that the players tried to go into the stands. That's what the ref told him. But if you look back at the video, I didn't see that. I don't know if you saw that, Ashton, or not. But
No, I think college football, the NFL or college football is trying to make itself more like the NFL. And one thing they've done this year is right the clock change.
yep,
If we're trying to be more and more like the NFL, my goodness, let kids have some fun. It's some of the most ridiculous, unsportsmanlike penalties I've ever seen. God forbid a kid celebrate after a big play, right?
yep,
I, how awful it is to get the crowd pumped up
yep.
after a big play. I just thought that was ignorant. And if I don't know if you ever notice, and our listeners, I don't know if you notice, does it not feel like instead of officials watching the game, they're just waiting for a kid to overly celebrate, and then they're just reaching for that flag, ready to throw it? Let, they've said it in baseball, and I've watched baseball my whole life. Let the kids play.
Yep.
That's all I got to say on that. Just let the
Yeah.
kids play. I thought it was a call that didn't need to be made, and of course, count on officials. They made it.
Yeah, and that really, we had great field position from that turnover, and then it just pushed us back, and we could only get a field goal out of it. But you watch NFL on Sundays. What's the first thing they do after a pick or a
Boy,
fumble?
they
They all
fly down to the other end of the
Yep,
football field. They
yep,
lay down, act like they're taking a picture.
yep,
Uh, if if what our kids did, it wasn't even remotely close
yep.
to what you see in the NFL, but yet these officials. How about this? Why don't we learn what a pass interference call is before we worry about what a celebration call should be? Why don't we do that?
or a roughing the passer where he did let up. He didn't go full force. He let up like they tell him to, but they still threw the flag. But just some stats about our defense, which kind of surprised me. Is believe it or not, the Hogs have the 11th ranked defense in the nation based off of total defense stats. Number 11. I remember last year we were in the 100s, I believe. We also have the 4th ranked rushing defense. We only allow 55.7 yards per game.
Yeah, it's super impressive. We knew coming into the season that this defensive line was getting a lot of praise. I think Trajan Jeffcoat is just an absolute animal on the end. Landon Jackson has stepped up. Kiwi Rose. I think Tank Booker, I'm assuming he's going to play Saturday. But if Tank Booker doesn't play, he'll be missed. Those guys rotating in and out on that defensive line, they are just absolutely killing people.
Yep.
Other offensive lines. Now, granted, we haven't played. Well, the best thing we played is BYU, but ultimately, I thought we owned the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. I would have to agree. Now the thing that kind of pissed me off about Sam Pittman in his press conference was he kind of blamed the defense for giving up 38 points and those chunk plays. But looking at the game, I didn't think the defense was the issue. I mean, we did give up 38, but I think the offense kind of put them in some bad situations.
Yeah, if I'm Sam Pittman, I'm probably looking at Dan Enos and saying, "Hey, Dan, why don't we come up with a reverse throw or throwback to our receiver back to another receiver? Let's do something." Because that was probably the most boring offense I've ever watched in my entire life.
Yep.
We scored 31, but it was like the most excruciating 31 points I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the weapons to go downfield, like the big plays, and I'm not seeing it. I know you're probably not seeing it either. Especially after that fumble, even though we had the penalty, you can still throw it to the end zone. I mean, I feel like our athletes were better than BYU's athletes, but
someone's going to have to explain to me how Jaden Wilson is better than Isaiah Santana.
Yes, and also stat about Satanga, he was recorded as having the fastest speed during week 3. I don't, they track everything now, but we don't have the fastest player in the whole nation on the field on offense.
We are wasting Isaiah Satania.
Mm-hmm. And Pittman said in his press conference because he drops balls in practice, but I mean,
so does Jaden Wilson. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Isaiah Satania drops balls in practice. Jaden Wilson drops balls in games.
Yeah. So I do expect them to offensively. He's probably going to be more involved this week. But all right, going to review the offense. KJ was 24 for 35 for 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and lost 1 fumble. So he had 2 turnovers for the game. AJ Green led the rushing attack with 86 yards on just 9 carries, which we'll get into that. He had 2 touchdowns, averaged 9.6 yards a carry. Now, we had 424 yards of offense, 247 yards passing, 177 yards rushing. Now, we averaged 4.5 yards a carry. A problem was we were 2 for 13 on 3rd down. Here's my deal about A.J. Green. He, the first drive, he went, 50 yards. And then he only carried the ball, I think, 6 more times after that. So, and Pittman.
Yeah, I'm confused on. I like that we're balanced, but you asked me before we played that game Saturday. You said if you're a Razorback fan, what do you got to see in order to make you happy? Well, you said, and I think I agreed, you want to see a win plus 200 yards of rushing. Okay, well, we had 177 yards of rushing. We got pretty dang close to that 200 number that we talked about.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand and I know I get it. Here, it's easy for me to sit here in this chair and to make this observation. Sam clearly, whether he says it or not, does not trust our offensive line, and I don't think Dan Enos does either. But if that's the case, if you're going to go forward on fourth down, and I've seen this a few times this year already, and it's getting kind of ridiculous. If you know you can't run in the middle, why go from the shotgun and try to run it down the middle? Why not just put your quarterback under center if you know for a fact that's where you're going anyways?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just so confused. And for whatever reason, when it's fourth down, we just don't know how to function.
No.
We don't have any clue how to function.
No. Yeah, it's fourth and less than a yard, and you go 5 yards back. You're making it 4th and 5. You have probably the strongest center and probably the biggest quarterback in the SEC. Just line them up under center and go. I know Pittman said they were in the bare front, which means they're blocking the A gaps. That was his concern. But I mean, all you need is half a yard. I mean, the ref could spot it wrong and you get a first down. It's just
I think okay, who cares about eight? All he's got to do, he's got to just lay down in between the legs of the center.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or what you got to do is bring your tight ends in motion, and as they come in motion, have them line up right behind your quarterback, just like the Philadelphia Eagles do, and push the kid for a first down.
Yep.
You know how many times the Philadelphia Eagles haven't succeeded on that?
Oh yeah, they're very, very successful.
So why don't we learn from other people? But no, it seems like we just keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about the offensive line, but that may be one of your topics.
You can go ahead.
So the offensive line, it's almost like it reversed this week. The run game was there, the pass game wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I think partly some of those passing game issues have a little bit to do with that KJ just holds the ball too long. You've got to have an internal clock that if it's not there, tuck that sucker and run. Instead, he sat in the pocket, and then he gets stripped. He gets stripped twice.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see maybe you get stripped once, but not the same exact way a second time. And then on top of that, the offensive line I'm just going to say it for what it is horrendous. It's terrible. Brady Latham, bless his heart, he couldn't block a soul on Saturday.
Yep.
He couldn't block a soul. He couldn't stay in a stance. He couldn't do anything right. And I know this. I know he's your captain, and I get that. I know he's your captain. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm a coach and a kid makes 3 penalties or has 3 penalties in a row, I've got to get him out of there. He's not in the right mindset. He's not thinking straight. He's not focused. Give someone else an opportunity. Now, here's my concern. Brady Latham didn't come out of that football game. You know why? Because there's no one else to go there.
Yeah.
We have no depth on the offensive line, and that is terrifying in the SEC.
Yeah, and I don't know where all these injuries are coming from. Pittman says offensive line has some hand issues. KJ was banged up. We're not. I don't know how healthy we are right now.
I had no idea KJ was banged up until Sam said he was banged up. But I feel like we've been through this before. If a guy's banged up and he's not 100%, get someone on the field who is 100%.
Yeah, I mean it's our offensive line we got a big test this week, but that we are not going to pass.
I don't see us passing it either.
It's gonna be bad, but
we are currently 81st
Yep.
in the nation offensively.
Yep.
Now, before we played BYU, we were 98th.
Yep.
Now, keep this in mind: we were 98th in the country after playing Western Carolina and Kent State.
Yep.
We were nearly not even in the top 100.
Yep.
Now we play BYU, we're 81st, and I would almost bet after this week that we drop way back down.
Yeah, I bet I wouldn't surprise to see us in the hundreds. offensively. I
But
mean,
I'm
I don't.
hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I see a team that's rejuvenated and hungry to win against a rival.
Yep.
Because I can tell you this: if Arkansas happens to beat LSU Saturday, which we've seen just about anything in college football this year. I mean, Southern Florida going toe to toe with Alabama. Who in the world would? Okay, Florida beating Tennessee. Never
Yeah.
would have expected it. But if Arkansas finds a way to beat LSU, I've just got news for you. All these murmurings against Sam Pittman, they
Yep.
magically disappear.
And he'll magically get back on Twitter too.
Yes, Coach
Well,
Pittman has deleted his Twitter,
yep.
and probably from all the noise from the fans criticizing most likely the offensive line, and he's supposed to be the offensive lineman guru, and it just hasn't looked like the offensive
Yeah.
line guru.
So I'm gonna ask the question of: is Pittman on the hot seat?
No, Pittman's not on the hot seat
Mm,
primarily because you just gave the guy an extension. Um, if he goes 3-9 this year, I think he starts next season on the hot seat. Um, Primarily because the expectation of Arkansas fans, although they're sometimes unrealistic expectations,
yep.
we still expect to win because this is all we have. It's not like Coach Pittman is going head to head against Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Texas State, UTSA.
Yep.
No, I mean, if you're going to play an in-state opponent, right, it's going to be Arkansas State or UCA.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so this is what we have to look forward to as Arkansas fans. So our expectation is to, at the very least, okay, at the very least, to be an 8-win team. Now, is that crazy for me to expect Arkansas to be an 8-win team? I don't think it is.
No.
That is me, just coming to terms with the fact that we're probably going to lose 4 games a year most years.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, will you have 7 in 5 years? Yeah, you're going to have 7 in 5 years. But
Mhm.
what you cannot be 5-7, 6-6, and you sure can't be losing to BYU the third game of the season
Yeah.
when you're clearly, honestly, on paper the better team.
Yeah.
You have the most experienced quarterback in the SEC, and you can't get the job done. That's not a good
Yeah.
look.
I think the reason it's a disappointing loss is because we know what's coming up next, and with the next 4 weeks, as Sarah says, the next 4 weeks is like we're probably going to end up 2-5 before by next month. So
Well, you know, Arkansas, we might lose LSU, but I think you're going to see two teams that are gasping for air when Arkansas and Texas A&M play each other.
yeah,
So we'll see who can come out on the better end of that deal.
which we saw Florida look like hot garbage first week, and look at them now. I mean, all it takes is just one win. Like you said, if we beat LSU, it's everything's all right. You know, because we got Texas A&M next week, and that's, as you said in the preview of the season, that defines our season. It's always the Texas A&M game. It's always the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're gonna move on from BYU. All right, so Arkansas travels to Baton Rouge, a night game. So, looking forward to it. Some things about LSU. Offensively, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback, he is 70 for 95 for 976 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. Completion percentage of 73.7. He also leads the team in rushing with 157 yards. Next leading rusher is Logan Digg at 156 yards. Malik Neighbors leads the team in receiving with 24 catches for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns. They average 344.3 yards passing per game and 192.7 yards rushing per game. Offensively, they average 537 yards per game. So our 11th ranked defense is going to be put to the test.
Yeah. So if you go and look at the numbers, the numbers are. I think LSU's good. Absolutely, I think they're really good. The numbers are going to be a little bit inflated They played. I think it was Grambling,
Grambling.
and they
Yeah.
just absolutely demolished Grambling, like it was nothing. And I think Malik Neighbors had like nearly 225 receiving yards, something like that. Malik Neighbors is definitely their best weapon as far as deep threat goes. The guy can play. He's a stud. Brian Thomas Jr. He's a stud too. They both are almost both have 300 receiving yards, and Malik Neighbors almost has 400 receiving yards.
Yeah.
So this guy can play. And then Jaden Daniels, being an Arizona State transfer, we knew he was good. And the question was like, how good is this guy going to be? Well, Arkansas played him last year, and he struggled mightily. I think the score was 13-10.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would argue and say that last year's team, talent-wise, overall talent, is not as talented as this year's team.
Yeah. If KJ played last year, we should have won. That was during
Right.
the KJ was injured. But
And so Jaden Daniels, those 976 yards, you could chuck up probably 250 to 300 of those, just the fact that they didn't play a very good team last week. But then again, you could say the same thing about Arkansas. Why didn't KJ throw for 300 against Western Carolina?
yeah.
So you could argue either way. So I'm not taking anything away from LSU. They're super talented. The question is who wins in the trenches?
Yeah.
Can our secondary, which I think is better this year than it has been, how good is it? Malik Neighbors is going to be the test. Brian Thomas is going to be a test. How does McLaughlin hold up? How does Singletary hold up? How does Hudson Clark hold up? How does Jalen Braxton hold up? And then I think it's is it Walcott, Alfahim Walcott,
Yeah.
and there's several others. But how do they do
Yeah.
against the passing attack of LSU?
Yeah, our defense, if we truly have the 11th ranked defense, it's going to be put to the test this weekend. But like you said, those numbers are inflated. I mean, they were kind of trying to get a good taste in their mouth after Florida State against Grambling, so they were just trying to find their footing, and so we shall see. Now on defense, Zai Alexander, he leads the team in tackles with 16. They only have 5 sacks on the season, and that's spread out between a bunch of people. Everybody has one. Wingo, Jordan Jefferson, Major Burns, Jones, and Perkins, they all have 1 sack. They're ranked 60th in total defense and 61st in pass defense. Now, of course, they've played a little, their first game was against higher competition than what the Razorbacks and pretty much everyone else in the country has played so far. So,
Right. Yeah. It's kind of hard to judge a team based off their first game against arguably one of the hottest teams in the country in Florida State, one of the most talented teams, and probably one of the most most respected coaches in the country in Mike Norvell.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say. Well, LSU isn't as good as they have been in the past. If Florida State runs the tables, people are going to be saying, "Man, that wasn't such a bad loss to Florida State after all."
Yeah, but we've seen these first 3 weeks. Anything can happen. I mean, it's college football is. I mean, there's not one dominant team. Anybody. Like you said, South Florida. I mean, almost beating Bama. That was something to see.
Right.
All right, what's your prediction for Saturday night?
Oh man, Saturday night down in Baton Rouge, Death Valley. Man, I hate to do my Razorbacks like this, but I can't help but think it's going to be um, probably 45-14
Mm,
LSU.
all right. Well, with all the things that have been said, I think Arkansas does not have a chance, but they do have a chance to cover the spread. Okay. I think LSU 35, Arkansas 21. And as we know, good teams win and great teams cover the spread. So
That's it.
I think, the spread's about 17, 18, depending on who you look at. I don't, think the past 3 games have been decided by 3 points between LSU and Arkansas. So it's been a close game. I think we do have some major issues on the offensive line, but hopefully they just kind of keep it a game. I think LSU in the fourth quarter pulls it out, wins by 2
And
touchdowns.
and I know you get you end up getting a lot of hate sometimes as Razorback fans, as those who kind of cover Razorback sports, being the people who say, well, we're going to lose. It's not that we want Arkansas to lose. It's just that when you look at the trend and the way things have gone, LSU is just the better team right now. And
I
that's
think
not to
it,
say that Arkansas doesn't go to Baton Rouge and upset LSU.
yeah,
Uh,
I think
but that's why it's called an upset.
I think LSU's the best team in the SEC, East
I
or
do too.
West.
I think so too. I think they are the best team, complete team in the SEC. I think they could beat Georgia. I really
This
do. And
it's gonna be the toughest game of the season. I mean, but
speaking of LSU, I want to quickly say thoughts and prayers go out to Greg Brooks and his family for the biopsy on the tumor that was removed from him. I, I really have a lot of respect for Greg Brooks, especially when he was a Razorback. He'll always be a Razorback in my mind. He was a heck of a ball player for us. So just want to quickly say thoughts and prayers go out to him and his
yeah,
family.
I'm
Hope for the best.
trying to remember. I think what Pittman's first year we playing Mississippi State. I think he's the one that had a pick six and like kind of helped us get that first SEC win. Um,
I remember I was in CrossFit
yeah,
when that happened, and me and my brother-in-law absolutely losing our mind and
yeah,
saying it's over. It's
yeah,
finally over. The
yeah,
2 year stretch of no SEC wins
yeah.
was done.
Yeah. So, all right. So again, Saturday night, Arkansas at LSU battle for the Golden Boot. Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler are actually on the call, so it's good to see some probably the best announcers in the game announcing our
Yep,
game.
absolutely.
So we're looking forward to it. Even though we know we're going to be disappointed, we're still going to watch and we're still going to complain. But as Trey Biddy said on his podcast, we are married to the Razorbacks and we cannot divorce them.
Oh, to be
All right.
brokenhearted.
All right, Razorback news. Not much. Just Texas A&M kickoff is 11 o'clock on either ESPN or SEC Network. They will make that determination on Monday, I believe. So um, I would rather it be at 11 o'clock. It being, it's a road game for us, even though it's a neutral site. So I think Razorbacks do better at 11 o'clock road games than say 2:30 or 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Also, Arkansas at their BYU game hosted some 60 different recruits, and one of those recruits being a 5 star in I believe the 2026 class, big 5 star lineman by the name of Jackson Cantwell, and I know it was never good for all these big recruits to come in and see us lose a football game, but we had that stadium filled nearly at complete capacity. So a great crowd, good atmosphere. And there were several other recruits on hand that we hope we impressed, and we hope maybe we can get it back on campus for another visit. Recruiting, you can't say enough about recruiting for home games. When you get those recruits in, you've only got a limited amount of time to impress them, and for us to fill the stadium up as fans, that always helps. So keep filling the stadiums up. No matter, I
Yeah.
know this is going to sound ridiculous. No matter if we go 3-9, keep filling the stadiums up, even if it's for a reduced price.
Yep.
Fill the
Yep.
stadium up.
Yes. Fill the seats. All right. Going on to the SEC, it was an interesting week in the SEC with Florida going down, and well, actually Tennessee came to them, and Florida kind of put it on them. I think the final score was not as close as it was. I think Florida kind of dominated them. They talking about a quarter. Well, there might need to be a quarterback change for Tennessee with the freshman Nico. I'm not going to try to say his last name. Um, so South Carolina put up a great fight against Georgia in the first half, and then Georgia kind of turned it on. We talked about Alabama, going toe to toe with South Florida.
Toe to
Uh,
toe.
so Ole Miss, they did what they had to do. Texas A&M, they did what they had to do. So what's your thoughts on the SEC?
My thoughts on the SEC. Number one, what a win for Missouri. We were watching that game, and I guess that Coach Drinkwitz thought that there was a timeout taken,
Yeah, he did. He did.
and he looks up, and the other sideline is yelling at their team to be on, make sure you're on the field, make sure you're on. And then Coach Drinkwitz, it was too late. I think there was 4 seconds left.
Yeah, and
Uh,
no
Delay of game
timeout.
penalty,
Yeah,
and you've got a 61-yard field goal for the win.
yeah, thicker the
And
kicker.
that's right. And
Thicker
I
kicker,
said,
thicker kicker.
and I think you and I both said they're going to make it. They're just this is just how it goes. We don't have, as Razorback fans, this never goes our way, right?
Yeah,
Because can't Little missed a 50-yard field goal right off the uprights, and then they go out, get a delay of game penalty to move them back outside of his range, and then he kicks a ball that he's never made before in his life.
yeah,
So big win for Missouri. Kansas State's a good ball club.
they are.
I picked Kansas State to win that game.
Yeah,
Ole
yeah,
Miss, they had a good game against Georgia Tech. Of course, Georgia Tech has been, mostly down the past few years. They've had some offensive changes. Remember, they used to be that triple option.
oh
They're
yeah,
in the spread now,
yeah,
and it's going to be a tough adjustment. Probably in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to have to just deal with the bumps in the road.
yeah.
Georgia, I'm sorry, they don't look like the number one team to me. And Carson Beck had 269 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
At least through the air.
Yeah.
He just I'm not impressed with Georgia. Florida, Travis Etienne, of course. I think it's Travis, or is it Trevor?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Trevor.
Yeah.
Is it Travis?
Yes. Travis.
Okay. So Travis Etienne, the brother of Trevor
Yeah.
Etienne for
Yeah.
the Jaguars. Travis Etienne ran all over Tennessee, which was not expected. Was not expecting them to run all over Tennessee. Great game. Joe Milton III, everybody wants him out.
Yep.
Everybody wants Joe Milton from Tennessee
Yep.
out.
Yep.
And outside of that, UNLV beating
Oh yeah.
UNLV beating Vanderbilt. I
Forgot about
guess
that.
life could be worse.
Yeah. I mean, hey, shout out to Barry Odom.
That's right. Barry Odom. Well, let's just say this: it wasn't because of the defense that UNLV won. So there's that, and everybody else just kind of did what they were supposed to do.
So we've seen these teams play for 3 weeks now. You think Kentucky is the favorite to win the East?
Absolutely not. No.
No, it's still
No.
Georgia.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida keeps playing hot football.
Yeah,
Who's to say that they couldn't do it?
that's right.
Who's to say Tennessee doesn't bounce back?
Yep.
And then another team that has just shocked me has been Missouri. But the question is, they play Memphis this weekend. The question is Brady Cook
Yeah.
healthy? Because I don't
Yeah.
know if he's practiced all week long for Missouri. If he's not healthy, I don't know how well they'll do.
Yeah,
So,
he's as they say at Mizzou, let Brady cook. Let him cook.
yeah. But South Carolina, they're not going to win the East. Kentucky, although they're 3-0, I don't see them winning the East.
Mhm.
And Vanderbilt's not winning the East.
No, yeah, for sure. That's
I think it's going to come down to Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, and I hate to say it, Missouri.
yeah. Yeah, I think of course, on the west side too. It's every conference game is. I mean, anybody could win. I mean, there's no.
Who knows?
Alabama's not Alabama. Georgia, there's not as strong so far as they have been. And don't forget about Texas A&M. I mean, if they can just put it together. I mean, I know they lost to Miami, but they still got conference. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's any this is as wide open as the SEC has been, and ever since I've been alive.
Yeah.
So especially within the past 15 years. Um, you know. So all right, last week we had a pick'em for the SEC games. All right. So we were pretty good, I would say. I told you last week I was going back and forth of picking either Tennessee or Florida, and I should have picked Florida, but I went with Tennessee. So we went 2-1 last week in the SEC. So all right, so let's show you our picks for this week. That was the other one. All right, so we have Auburn at Texas A&M. So it's going to be Auburn's first conference game, as well as Texas A&M's. So I got Texas A&M winning comfortably. I don't see them having any issue with Auburn. Auburn's decent. They're just not. I just don't think they're there yet.
I have A&M winning, but I have A&M winning a super close game because I just feel like if Hugh Freeze was to beat Jimbo Fisher, the amount of trolling that could go on from fans if Jimbo loses another game to a coach that has lesser talent.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think A&M wins, but even with winning, I still think somehow Jimbo manages to look bad.
We'll see. All right, next is one we're not going to spend much time on. Kentucky at Vanderbilt. I got
Yeah.
Kentucky by as many as they want.
I got well. Listen, AJ Swan, he's throwing the ball well for Vanderbilt. The problem is he can throw the ball well all he wants. His defense is like a screen door going up against diarrhea. All right, it just ain't holding anything. All righty. So Kentucky, I have Kentucky beating Vanderbilt by at least 21.
Yeah, it's Vanderbilt. We're glad they bring the SEC GPA up. Um, so
Someone's
but
got
hey,
to.
they're pretty good in baseball and basketball. So
Look,
there's that.
no, not yet.
All right. Next is maybe the game of the week in the SEC. Maybe is number 15 Ole Miss travels to number 13 Alabama. Now I have Alabama winning. I just don't see a Nick Saban coach team looking bad for 3 weeks in a row. I just don't see it happening, especially at home. Milrow is supposed to be back at quarterback, so that seems to be the best option. It's not. I mean, it's not great, but out of the other quarterbacks, he seems to be the most productive. And I think Bama's defense might show up. I mean, they showed up last week. I mean, I know it was South Florida, but I think Ole Miss has not seen like a fast defense this year as Alabama's. So I got
You know,
Alabama.
it's kind of odd that or Ole Miss is playing a team who, well, last week they played a team whose quarterback was an SEC quarterback at Texas A&M last year in Haynes King, and they're going to be playing a team this weekend in Alabama who, for whatever reason, I could have told Coach Saban, do not take Jalen Milrow out.
No,
The other two guys just can't get it done for you. I don't know why they ever thought the other two could. They should have kept Milrow at quarterback, and they probably would have beat Southern Florida by
yeah,
40. I don't know.
yeah,
But in reality, Jalen Milrow is the guy, whether he's the best, the most talented quarterback in SC or the least talented quarterback in SC. He's the best talented quarterback at Alabama. That's bottom line. And if he plays well, yeah, I think Alabama wins if he plays well. But I think I have a little bit of faith in Jackson Dart and Ole Miss, and I think that Jackson Dart is a true dual threat quarterback. He had 250 yards passing against Georgia Tech, and he had 130 yards rushing, three total touchdowns. So the kid can run, and here's the crazy part to me. Arkansas and Ole Miss were supposed to have the two best running backs in the SEC. hands down. Neither one of those running backs have really had any
Yeah.
real success this
Yeah.
year as of yet.
Yeah.
So if Junkins can get going for Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss I think Ole Miss competes with LSU for the West.
Yeah,
We'll see.
this is a very important game regarding the West. You know who who can get the upper hand. So we shall see.
Absolutely.
Now remember, Ole Miss's defensive coordinator was at Alabama last year, so
Right.
he might know some inside secrets about the offense, but we shall see. All right, next SEC games. All right, we've already talked about Arkansas at number 12 LSU. Obviously, we both have LSU, so we've already talked about that. Well, going down to Mississippi State at South Carolina. Um, Mississippi State is probably better than Vanderbilt, and that's about it regarding the SEC. Will Rogers, he's in a new offense. It's not working for him. South Carolina's a hard place to play at night when they got that. They got that sound. I'm not going to say it on
I don't know why, for whatever reason, I said that LSU. Why did I say LSU played Grambling last week when
no.
they clearly played Mississippi State?
Well, they played in week 2. They played Grambling.
Right. Well, they played Mississippi State this past week, but I don't know why I said they played Grambling last week. That's not what I meant. I meant to say they played Mississippi State, but uh, it's still impressive for an LSU team to put up or a receiver to put up 240 yards of receiving on an SEC opponent, regardless of who it is. So Mississippi State, they're just not the same. Mississippi State without Mike Leach. He's missed. He was an awesome coach, and I think this just shows you this year right here shows you how great of a coach Mike Leach was.
Yeah.
Will Rogers was 11 of 28 for 100 yards against LSU.
I mean, he just didn't have time to throw. I mean, he stepped
No.
back and he's got 3 or 4 LSU Tigers in his face. It was hard to watch.
Yep.
Hopefully that don't happen this week, but we'll see about regarding LSU. And then so I think South Carolina, they're probably the best 2-loss team in the nation. So I mean they've had a tough schedule, which we knew going in. The first 6 weeks for them was tough, and it got a little bit easier on the back end because I think after this game they play Tennessee and can't remember the other team, maybe Kentucky, but so I think South Carolina wins, and I think we talk about quarterbacks in the SEC. Spencer Rattler is the best quarterback right now. He just doesn't have.
He just doesn't have the offensive line.
I mean, when he has time and he is.
In my opinion, if Spencer Rattler's a quarterback at Georgia, Georgia's unbeatable.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which it was good for Spencer Rattler because that Georgia game they had a bunch of NFL scouts there, so I'm sure his draft stock is rising. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's talk about week 3 in the college football world. We all stayed up to 2 a.m., whatever it was, to watch Colorado play Colorado State. So that's the Deion effect. Last year we could care less about Colorado State, but through all the sunglasses and hats and everything else, we stayed up past our bedtime to watch an overtime win for Colorado. Now, I think this week, this coming up week, they play Oregon. So I think Colorado might get their first defeat, but we shall see. But I think just in all college football last week, we said it was going to be a down week, and that was not the truth. I think it was the best week so far of the year. A lot of exciting games, starting off with Mizzou and Kansas State, and so I think college football every week is going to be must-watch TV.
Right, and I think Colorado and Oregon, this coming week. Bo Nix in his 12th year of eligibility. I think he just turned 42. Um, I think he'll do really well against Colorado. Uh, I think he's lived through two world wars. Uh, so
Yeah, I think
so he
him and Will Rogers have seen a couple
so I
wars.
no I joke I'm joking, but Bo Nix is a good quarterback. He really is. And so I think this will be a fun week of football to watch. But man, what about that game, Colorado and Colorado State? Uh, they rush. I think they're rushing the field after every game Colorado wins this year.
I mean, with what they've been through past couple years, I don't blame them. I mean, I know the university's having to pay a fine probably, but I'm sure they don't care. And
Yep.
um, with Colorado, they did something interesting in overtime. They took the ball first instead of going on defense, which kind of confused some people in the second overtime. But Dion, his son, Shiloh, he's the safety for Colorado, and Dion told him, he goes, "Son, y'all ain't stopped a soul all night. I'm not putting you out there first." So that's why he put Shadur out there to win the game for him.
Yep. Good call. Good call
Yep.
by Dion.
All right, so we're gonna preview some games real quick and go back. There we go. All right. So Ashton, he did awesome last week. He went one for two, 1-2. All right, Kansas State, Missouri. We both picked Kansas State. We were wrong on that. Minnesota, North Carolina. North Carolina took care of business pretty easily. And then the backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pitt was I went with the home team, and it turned out to be the right decision. So this week we got a lot more games than three. Okay, this slate of games this weekend is pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna start off with number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon. Um, I think Oregon wins this not by as much as Vegas has them. I think they're like an 18-point favorite, like kind of like the Hogs. Hogs are 18-point underdog. Um, so I got Oregon winning, but I'm going to say by 10 points. I think any as we've seen any team coached by Dion is never out of it.
Oh no. Um, I think I think I think Oregon just has. I think they're going to end up having a little bit better quarterback play. Not saying that Sanders isn't a good quarterback. I think Bo Nix is just he's I don't know. He's just something about the kid. He just rises to the occasion. And Oregon's kind of an unknown. I haven't really watched Oregon play much. Everybody's seen Colorado play.
Yeah.
Everybody sat down and watched
Yeah.
Colorado play, but no one's really talked about Oregon. And here we are. Oregon's 3-0, and their three wins are not impressive. You got Portland State, Texas Tech, and Hawaii. And Texas Tech is not the same Texas Tech that they have been. So who knows? But ultimately, on paper, I think Oregon should win the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, all right, next game is all right. So another ranked matchup, number 22 UCLA at number 11 Utah. Okay, this is going to be a pretty good game. I think Cam Rising should be back for this game, which will be a big help for Utah. I'm just going with the home team again. I think any conference game, SEC, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a good game this year. Like I said, there's no dominant team, so I always like to ride with the home team in these close games. So with Rising coming back, so I think Utah should win by 7.
Yeah, I have UCLA. I think Chip Kelly's still the head coach down there at UCLA. I have them winning this game. They didn't get tested last week. They played North Carolina Central and just beat the brakes off of them. But they have played a good team that has in the recent years been kind of underrated, and that's Coastal Carolina. They played Coastal Carolina this year. In fact, Coastal Carolina is playing this evening. They may be playing right now
Yep.
against Georgia State. So when I get off of this, I will be going to watch just a little bit of that game. So Chip Kelly, if this is gonna be your year to show everybody that your program is where it needs to be, this is the game you need to win. You need to get off on the right foot against Utah, and so therefore I know it's a road game for UCLA, but I'm gonna go with UCLA getting the big win on the road.
Yep. All right, next we got number 14 Oregon State at number 21 Washington State, the battle of the states, and I'm going with Oregon State just because of their quarterback DJU. Again, not going to try to say the last name. Come to find out, he was not the problem at Clemson, and Oregon State being ranked 14th is, they have a chance, an outside chance maybe, to make the playoff if they keep winning. Which the Pac-12 has 8 teams ranked, I believe. So
Yeah.
Pac-12 is, to me, the conference to watch. But you're going to have a lot of ranked matchups, and it's always Pac-12 always has exciting football. So, but I'm going with Oregon State, and I think Washington State is a sneaky team. They're not getting the respect that they deserve, but I just trust Oregon State a little bit more.
Yeah. So Washington State. This is a matchup of two really good quarterbacks. Uh, I I think is it Charlie Ward? I think it's Charlie Ward. No, I'm sorry, Camerson Ward. Why did I say Charlie Ward? Camerson Ward, the quarterback for Washington State. He has been on fire this year, just slinging the football around the pigskin. And DJ Uwagalele, DJU,
Yeah.
he is, he has definitely rejuvenated his collegiate career, moving to Oregon State, going from one side of the country to the other. And Oregon State being in the top 25 is really a testament to the quarterback play from DJU. And so I got Oregon State, although they didn't play very well against San Diego State this past week. I still think San Diego State's a real good football team. But you're right, Washington State. It seems like every year, remember Mike Leach kind of put them on the map,
Mm-hmm.
and since then it seems like every year they're not just a team you can just check mark a win
Yep.
when you play them. So Oregon State's going to have to play good. I do think they'll play good football and they'll win.
Yep. All right, now to the big time games. Number 6, Ohio State at number 9, Notre Dame. Now, usually Ohio State is I think overrated in years past, but I don't think they're overrated this year. They're not getting much love from the media like they usually do.
Yeah.
Now I think the Dion effect kind of helps with that, but they're kind of flying under the radar. I want to say they beat Western Kentucky last week, who's a
Yeah,
really
they did.
who's a
They beat them down. They beat
who's
Western Kentucky
yeah,
down.
they're a decent team, but they, like I said, beat them down. But the reason I'm going with Notre Dame because we watched a Memphis game last week, and the Fighting Irish dominated Navy, and Memphis kind of struggled against Navy. So I mean, it's the first time seeing Navy play twice, and it shows you how much the Fighting Irish dominated them. So, and I'm again going with the home team, but I think this has the potential to be the game of the week. Outside of the SEC, I think it's going to go back
Yeah.
and forth.
So there's a kid from Notre Dame that you don't hear much about. His name is Audric Estime, the running back for Notre Dame. He's having an amazing year. Sam Hartman playing quarterback for Notre Dame, the transfer from Wake Forest. He stepped right into the role of quarterback there at Notre Dame, and he is once again he's picking up right where he left off of Wake Forest. He's having a lot of success. His teammates around him trust him, and he's got Notre Dame sitting at I believe 3-0 or 4-0 right now coming into this football game. I think they're the better football team. I think they have the better skill players. Ohio State is always going to be a good. I think Ohio State has the best receiver in the country, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, for sure.
But Ohio State has not played a Notre Dame like team yet,
Yep.
and I think Notre Dame comes out on top. in a hard-fought game, but I think Notre Dame pulls away late.
Yep. All right. All right. Next is number 24 Iowa at number 7 Penn State. I'm going with Penn State. James Franklin, he seems to have I don't put a lot of trust in James Franklin, but I think being at home helps him out. And Iowa, they just they can't score the ball. I don't know if you know their offensive coordinator. I think has a stipulation in his contract. If they don't average 25 points for the whole season, he's fired. So because they're tired of not scoring. But I'm going with Penn State. At home, and I don't know if it's going to be a whiteout game like they usually do against big time opponents. They may be saving that for later, but if it's a whiteout game, expect Penn State to win by a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet how to feel about this Penn State team. They beat two decent teams in West Virginia and Illinois, but Drew Aller, the quarterback, he did not have a good game against Illinois. He struggled. I think it was like 16 of 30 or 16 of 33. Okay, 16 of 33, and no touchdowns. And they're ultimately, you go back and look at the numbers. There weren't really just any super impressive numbers from the offense for Penn State. It's just that their defense was able to dominate a offensively weak Illinois team. There's just no way of saying it other than that is that Illinois' Brett Bielema, as much as his defense has improved, his offensive team, his offensive skills as a coach haven't improved.
Yeah.
And so I think Penn State wins, but I think that Iowa, because of their defense, could win this football game. But I'm going with Penn State because they're at home. If it was the other way around, I'd probably go with Iowa.
Yeah. Now, Iowa's, as we call it, they're going to play sound football. They're not going to have dumb penalties. I think they're last in penalties. I think for the whole nation. So they're not going to beat themselves. So Penn State's going to have to do it.
Cade McNamara is the quarterback for Iowa,
yeah.
And he's seen some big level football.
Yep.
So I don't think the atmosphere at Penn State will bother him one bit. So, like I said, it could go either way. I wish the game was at Iowa because they have one of the coolest traditions that you'll ever see at a college football program. I don't know if it's the third quarter, but I think it's called the third quarter wave, where they turn and they wave to the kids in the hospital next to the stadium. It's just one of the to me, one of the most important traditions of college football. Yeah. That I wish that we had as Arkansas Razorback fans, but shout out to Iowa for that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Wes, if you're listening, Memphis at Missouri. I went back and forth because if Brady Cook's playing or not, don't know, but we shall see. But Memphis won last week, but I was not thoroughly impressed. Especially toward the end of the game. So I'm going with the hotter team, and that's Missouri, coming off that big win against Kansas State. So Drinkwitz, he should have his boys hyped up to win. But I put at Missouri. It's really not at Missouri. They're playing in St. Louis, but it's pretty much a home game for the Missouri Tigers. So I'm going with Missouri.
Yeah, I'm going with Missouri. Although Blake Watson for Missouri, according to Big Game Boomer, was the best running back of Week 3 in college football. And as Blake Watson goes, so goes the Memphis Tigers. Seth Hennigan, I call him a game manager, and I think after we watched the game against Navy, I think that perfectly describes him. He doesn't typically do things that hurt you as a team, but he's not going to do things that really help you win, if that makes sense. Seth Hennigan is not, just to me, after I watched the game, was not an overly impressive quarterback, but he is a facilitator. He's kind of like the point guard. It's a true point guard of this offense. And if they're able to keep the ball away from Missouri, then Memphis can pull off the win. But the way Missouri is coming off of that win against Kansas State, they are confident. They want to keep the ball rolling. Drinkwitz has got, and I'm not an Eli Drinkwitz fan at all. I'm not a Missouri Tiger fan. But the more they win, the more these kids, these 5-star athletes, for whatever reason, they're going to want to keep coming to Missouri, regardless of facilities or whatever. Just something about Missouri Tigers right now that is appealing to these kids.
Yeah, they also rushed the field too after that win last week. So them fans are hyped up, and so I think Drinkwitz had a contract extension last year. So I think he's locked in for a little bit. So we'll see now. If I mean I'll be surprised if Memphis wins, but I won't be like super surprised. Because
Right.
Memphis is always a team that's going to play tough. They've beaten big time teams in the past. I'm just thinking of Ole Miss recently. I think when Peyton Manning was playing, they beat Tennessee. I mean, it's so Memphis could do it, but I think Missouri is going to win. All right, next, number 4, Florida State at Clemson. This is an interesting game because ever since Clemson got beat, they just been knocking off some wins, but they have been playing lower competition. Florida State struggled last week against was it Boston College maybe, or Wake
Yeah,
Forest?
it was. It was Boston College.
Boston College. So maybe that was a wake up call for Florida State. I think being a conference game, and it's pretty big conference game. I'm going with Florida State, but it's not gonna be easy. Clemson is a hard place to win at. And I
Yeah,
think Clemson is. I mean, they're not. I don't think they're as bad as we think they are. I think Duke is just that good.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I got Florida State winning. I know these are our last 3 games right here to pick. Florida State wins, and if Clemson gets down 14, I think it all falls apart, and Florida State just rolls them. So,
Yeah. All right, next is just a couple games we threw in there. BYU at Kansas. This will be BYU's first conference game in the Big 12. So I'm going with the home team. I know BYU beat Arkansas. I just was not thoroughly impressed. They still rank in the 100th in the hundreds regarding total offense. So again, I'm not impressed with BYU. Again, even though they did beat Arkansas, but I'm going with Kansas. So
yeah, big game for both teams here. Both teams coming to the game 3-0. I think Kansas has the better team, better quarterback. Although Caden Slovis, he's been around and he's had a lot of success. But I think Kansas, big game for both of these teams. Kansas comes out with a win.
Yep. And then last one is App State at Wyoming. Wyoming is an interesting team. They up to the fourth quarter last week against Texas. It was a close game. That was that's the Alabama hangover. Every time you play Alabama, the next game you're not going to do as well. And then they beat Texas Tech, I think, at the week 1 of the season. So I'm going with I think Wyoming is the better team. I know App State was close with North Carolina. So
Yeah, I think you're probably have the right pick there, Blake. Wyoming is going to definitely have the better defense, probably a better offense. I struggle to count out App State. They've got an explosive offense. They've scored 40 plus points or 40 or more points in every game this year, including I'm sorry, they had 34 against North Carolina. So not 40 in every game, but 34 on North Carolina, who held South Carolina to 17. So App State could put up some points. It's whether or not they can stop Wyoming from scoring.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go back to this comment just for mainly for Wes. All right. Sarah wants to know, do y'all cover Hogs hockey team at all? All right. We do not. we're just mainly football, basketball, and baseball throughout the
and
year,
and perhaps softball as
and
well.
perhaps softball. Wes Pruitt, he's the he runs this operation at Four Star Sports. He is I think the only one that covers the Hogs hockey team. So he writes articles. He has a podcast every week with the head coach. So he's doing great things over there. So Wes Pruitt, he's the one that covers the Hogs hockey team. So
That's interesting. I don't even know. Be honest with you, if Arkansas's hockey team is what you would cll, I guess, a club team,
yeah,
or if it's actually in a conference.
it's a club team is what it is.
Okay, I guess there's several sports teams up there at Arkansas that are club teams.
Yeah, they're not.
Like
It's not
rugby, for
affiliated.
example.
Yeah, it's not an NCAA sanctioned like sport.
But I think that's really cool that Wes covers that. So yeah, definitely Wes Pruitt is the one to count on for that type of coverage.
And he knows all the players. He knows where they come from. He knows he talks to the coach every week. So he's the one. Anything about hockey, he's the one to talk to. 'Cause I know nothing about hockey, so I'll be honest. All right,
Yeah.
so anything else?
No, everybody hold your breath Saturday, and at halftime, if it's a close game, maybe you can breathe a little bit, but don't hold your breath too long.
Also, if you're a recruit, you need to reach out to Sam Pittman on Twitter. Oh wait, we can't do that. So
Oh no, everybody sit down and enjoy football Saturday. Have a good weekend,
yeah,
and look forward to seeing y'all again soon.
yep. All right, for Ashton, I'm Blake. This has been the Hogs Happy Hour.
Peace out.